What if I fail? What if no one hires me? What if I embarrass myself? He closes the folder. Tomorrow, he tells himself. Tomorrow becomes another month. Fear does not scream. It whispers, it negotiates, it sounds reasonable. Stay safe. Wait until you're more ready. Just a little more preparation. At work, Haruki designs according to other people's visions. He adjusts lines, edits colors, refines someone else's dream. His supervisors praise him for being reliable. Reliable, the word feels like a cage. One evening, after declining an opportunity to present his own concept to a client because he wasn't fully prepared, Haruki walks home through soft rain. He feels something close to grief. Not grief for what he lost, grief for what he hasn't. He has planned everything except the first step. Every time he opens the folder on his laptop titled Studio, his chest tightens. His thoughts grow loud. Then tried. That night, scrolling through old philosophy books, he stumbles across the name Miyamoto Musashi. He knows the legend, the undefeated swordsman, 60 duels, 0 losses. But what catches him isn't the battles. It's the fact that a week before his death, Musashi wrote 21 rules not about swords, but about living without fear. The text is called Dokkōdō, the path of walking alone. Haruki reads the first line slowly. Do not go against the path of humanity. He pauses. Fear is human. His problem is not that he feels fear. His problem is that he treats fear like a stop sign. He reads further. Do not seek pleasure for its own sake. Haruki thinks about comfort, his steady paycheck, his predictable routine, his quiet evenings that feel safe but hollow. Comfort has become his addiction, and addiction creates aversion to discomfort. Discomfort feels like danger, but danger is not the same as death. Modern neuroscience says the brain reacts to imagined threats almost as intensely as real ones. To know his nervous system, pitching his own design feels like facing a predator. But there is no predator, only possibility. Another line strikes him deeply. Do not rely on partial feelings. He realizes most of his decisions are based on how he feels in the moment. If anxiety rises, he postpones. If doubt appears, he retreats. He has mistaken temporary emotion for permanent truth. Fear says, don't. But fear is a sensation, not a prophecy. He continues reading. Think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world. Haruki laughs quietly. He has been the main character in a horror film that only exists in his head, imagining humiliation, imagining failure, imagining people whispering about his attempt. But in reality, everyone is too consumed with their own survival to dissect his risks. The fear of judgment has been inflated by imagination. For the first time, he does not try to eliminate fear. He studies it. He notices how it rises when he imagines quitting abruptly, but softens when he imagines starting small. A subtle shift happens. He doesn't need to burn his current life down. He just needs one act of courage that does not demand perfection. He opens the studio folder again. Instead of drafting a business plan, he selects one sketch and sends it to a friend just to ask for feedback. His heart pounds, but he presses send. It is a microscopic action, yet something ancient inside him moves. Fear did not disappear. He simply walked with it. And for the first time in years, he did not close the folder. The message from his friend arrives the next morning. This is brilliant. Why aren't you doing this already? Haruki stares at the screen longer than necessary. Because I'm afraid, but he doesn't type that. Instead, he notices something strange. The world did not collapse. No one mocked him. No catastrophe followed pressing send. Fear predicted disaster. Reality delivered encouragement. He returns to Musashi's rules. Have no desires throughout your life. At first, it sounds impossible. He desires success, recognition, freedom, but he reads deeper. The rule is not about killing desire, it is about not becoming enslaved by outcome. Haruki realizes something painful. He doesn't fear starting the studio, he fears starting and failing. His attachment to success is what paralyzes him. If he could act without clinging to the result, what would change? He decides on something radical. For 30 days, he will build quietly. No announcements, no dramatic resignation, no identity shift. Just 1 hour each night. Haruki sits at his desk after dinner and designs not for profit, not for validation, but because he loves shaping space. At first, anxiety still visits. What if this is pointless? He continues anyway. Do not regret your actions. This rule feels like oxygen. Regret has haunted him for years. Every missed opportunity replayed endlessly. Every presentation avoided, etched into memory. But regret keeps the nervous system in a constant state of alert. If he can act and accept the result, whatever it is, regret loses its power. On the 10th night, exhaustion tempts him to skip. Fear disguises itself as practicality. You've worked all day. Rest. He almost listens. Then he remembers something else Musashi implied. Discomfort is not danger. He opens his laptop, designs for 45 minutes, closes it. The act itself becomes victory. Something subtle begins shifting in his identity. He no longer sees himself as someone who wants to start. He sees himself as someone who builds quietly. Fear still appears before presentations at work, but instead of avoiding them, he experiments. When anxiety rises, he observes it. Heat in the chest, tight throat. He breathes slowly, lets the sensation crest and fall. He speaks anyway, not perfectly, but honestly, he begins noticing how often fear is simply anticipation of imagined humiliation. And humiliation rarely arrives. The more he acts, the more evidence he gathers against his own catastrophic predictions. Neural pathways begin rewiring. Courage is not loud, it is repetition. By the end of 30 days, Haruki has a small portfolio of original designs. Nothing public, nothing dramatic, but real. And for the first time, fear feels less like a wall, more like weather. Uncomfortable, temporary, navigable. He understands now. The goal was never to eliminate fear. The goal was to move while it speaks. Opportunity arrives unexpectedly. A local cafe owner posts online looking for someone to redesign a small interior space on a limited budget. Haruki sees the post. His heart accelerates instantly. This is it. Fear surges louder than before. You're not experienced enough. What if they reject you publicly? He almost scrolls past, then another rule surfaces in his mind. On the way, death is not to be feared. He translates it quietly. Embarrassment is not death. Rejection is not death. Life is temporary, so why live it half formed? He drafts a message, deletes it, rewrites it. His hands tremble slightly as he presses send. This time, the fear is sharper because now the risk is real. Hours pass without response. His mind invents narratives. They hated it. They're laughing. You shouldn't have tried. He recognizes the pattern now. The brain reacts to imagined fear the same way it reacts to real threat. He chooses not to follow the story. Instead, he returns to his evening ritual, designing, building, existing beyond outcome. 2 days later, the cafe owner replies, they want to meet. Haruki reads the email twice to confirm it is real. The meeting is small, casual. The owner is warm but direct. What makes you different? She asks. Old Haruki would have over explained, justified, minimized. Instead, he speaks simply. I design spaces that feel like silence, places people don't want to leave. The words surprise even him. They are honest, not rehearsed, not defensive. He leaves without knowing the result. And something extraordinary happens. He does not obsess. He goes home and continues designing. Fear has lost its throne. A week later, he receives confirmation. He got the project. It is modest. The pay is small, but it is real. As he measures walls and sketches layouts, he feels something deeper than excitement. Alignment. Musashi's final rule echoes softly. You may abandon your body, but you must preserve your honor. For Noah, honor means living aligned with his values, not shrinking to avoid discomfort, not hiding to preserve ego. Fear is still present, but it no longer commands him. It informs him, and he walks anyway. Months unfold quietly. The cafe renovation is completed. Customers compliment the warmth of the space. The owner recommends him to a friend. Small projects follow. Haruki does not quit his job immediately. He transitions slowly, intentionally. Fear still whispers before each new commitment, but its tone has changed. It no longer says, don't. It says, be careful. And careful is different from paralyzed. He reflects on the man he was a year ago, waiting, planning endlessly, living in imagined catastrophes. The difference now is not absence of fear, it is detachment from outcome. If a project fails, he will learn. If a client rejects him, he will adjust. If progress is slow, he will continue. His identity has shifted from someone who wants courage to someone who practices it. One evening, standing alone inside a newly finished space, sunlight spilling across polished wood, Haruki feels a quiet understanding settle inside him. Fear was never the enemy. Attachment was. Attachment to approval, attachment to certainty, attachment to a guaranteed future. When he loosened his grip on those, fear softened. He did not become fearless. He became free, free to act while uncertain, free to speak while nervous, free to begin before feeling ready. And maybe that is the real lesson Musashi left behind. Fear is part of being human, but paralysis is a choice repeated. Each time you act despite trembling hands, you carve a new identity. Each time you move while your heart races, you rewire your mind. The question is not whether fear will visit you. It will. The question is whether you will sit with it or stand up and walk. Because somewhere inside you, there is a folder you keep closing, a conversation you keep postponing, a life you keep imagining. And fear will always offer you safety in exchange for stagnation. But if you understand it, if you see it as weather, not prophecy, you might finally take the first step. Not when fear disappears, but while it's still there, and that step will quietly change everything.